guys, Jasmine here with BIOTECH. It is the week of February 20th, 2021, and here are a few things that you might have missed.
Pig farming in China is kind of a big deal. China has the world's biggest pig farming industry. It's home to half of the world's live hogs. You didn't know that?
No.
Half. Holy. I mean, it's got billions of people, but anyway, Huawei wants to be involved in modernizing the pig farming strategy. But anyway, they want to do facial recognition, AI, so that they can detect diseases and track individual pigs without actually having to do so in a labor-intensive way manually. That these systems could pick up diseases, because they could pick up a hog that has, for example, its behavior is altered in a way mapped across what the normal thing would be, and then identify that specific one, pull it out, test it sooner, things like this. I went straight from Huawei cutting smartphone shipments to Huawei turns to pig farming. Like I couldn't ignore that combination of things.
Cars, and then there's coal mining.
It's got everything in it.
Huawei.
It's got anything in it that you want.
Interesting.
Earlier this month, Huawei founder and chief executive Ren Zhengfei announced a mining innovation lab in northern China. Look, they're trying to diversify, man.
Sure. Yeah.
You would do the same thing.
Yeah, Samsung does it.
You would do the same thing.
LG does it.
You would do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
What are GANs and how do they work? Generative Adversarial Networks, or GANs, are a powerful type of neural network used for unsupervised machine learning. Made up of two competing models which run in competition with one another, GANs are able to capture and copy variations within a dataset. They're great for image manipulation and generation, but they can also be deployed for tasks like understanding risk and recovery in healthcare and pharmacology. GANs are actually pretty new. They were first introduced by Ian Goodfellow in 2014. Goodfellow developed them to tackle some of the issues with similar neural networks, including the Boltzmann machine and autoencoders. Both the Boltzmann machine and autoencoders use the Markov decision chain, which has a pretty high computational cost. Let's take a look at how GANs work in a bit more detail. Let's start with a simple analogy. You have a painting, say the Mona Lisa, and we have a master forger who wants to create a duplicate painting. The forger does this by learning how the original painter, Leonardo da Vinci, produced the painting. Meanwhile, you have an investigator trying to capture the forger and second-guess the rules the forger is learning. GANs are used for a number of different applications. One of the best examples is a Google Brain project back in 2016. Researchers used GANs to develop a method of encryption. This project used three neural networks: Alice, Bob, and Eve. Alice's job was to send an encrypted message to Bob. Bob's job was to decode that message, while Eve's job was to intercept it. To begin with, Alice's messages were easily intercepted by Eve. However, thanks to Eve's adversarial work, Alice began to develop its own encryption strategy. It took 15,000 runs for Alice to successfully encrypt a message that could be deciphered by Bob that Eve couldn't intercept. Elsewhere, GANs are also being used in fields such as drug research. The neural networks can be trained on the existing drugs and suggest new synthetic chemical structures that improve on drugs that already exist. As we've seen, GANs offer some really exciting opportunities in artificial intelligence. There are two key advantages you need to remember. GANs solve the problem of generating data when you don't have enough to begin with, and they require no human supervision. Visit to find out more.
Little blast from the past, Elizabeth Ann. She is the first ever U.S. endangered species to be cloned. The black-footed ferret was created from the frozen cells of another ferret named Willa, who died more than 30 years ago in 1988. Willa's remains were frozen in the early days of DNA technology, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service had Elizabeth Ann carried into the world by a domestic ferret. Elizabeth Ann's now being raised at the federal government's black-footed ferret breeding facility in Fort Collins, Colorado. Her birth was the culmination of a 7-year effort between U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the San Diego Zoo, and a biotechnology nonprofit, Revive and Restore. Cloning could eventually bring back other extinct species, including the passenger pigeon and the woolly mammoth. As for Elizabeth Ann, she may look cuddly, but scientists say she is feisty and ready to fend for herself. Ferrets are usually released back into the wild, but she'll stay in Colorado to be studied, along with her future siblings, soon to be additional clones of Willa. This is Inside Edition Digital.
Bloody hell. Well, we have recovered DNA from mammoth teeth that have been buried in the Siberian permafrost for between 700,000 years and 1.2 million years. And this has been quite a challenge. It has taken us several years to get the data out and to analyze it. I think using ancient DNA like this is a bit like traveling back in time using a time machine. So we can actually measure genetic changes. We can see them happening in real time. And so going back 1 million years, which is really, really far back in time, that really allows us to study evolution as it happens. And that is very exciting.
In Ted Goodson's lab, eye protection is the name of the game. Welcome to Laser Central. Physical chemists use lasers extensively to study the structure and properties of molecules. Now the team here at the University of Michigan is taking laser chemistry to the next level. And that could mean big strides forward in areas like cancer treatment, Alzheimer's research, and material science.
The general area of using entangled photons to do imaging and microscopy just maybe only 10 years ago was virtually thought of as a very, very difficult task, maybe almost impossible.
This is the next big thing.
When I ask postdocs, graduate students, undergraduate students, and high school students, I give them a choice of the project that they want to work on. I know I should always mention the quantum one last, because once I mention the quantum one, they all say quantum.
Photons are particles of light. This new instrument is an entangled 2-photon absorption microscope. It works by generating a quantum behavior called entanglement in the photons that make up the laser beam.
An entangled pair has 2 photons that are entangled to each other, which means that they share some kind of wave function, they share some kind of information between each other.
The microscope generates high-resolution images using low-intensity beams, many orders of magnitude lower than anything used before.
So if you were to do imaging with normal or random light, you would be using very, very, very high intensity light. But this is a lot less powerful.
Less powerful, but very effective. The low-intensity nature of the entangled photon beam means the team can image delicate samples, like living cells, without damaging them in the process. And that should lead to advances in medicine, like better cancer diagnostics.
And our project is actually to use this microscope to see if we can actually find signatures of the cancer cell without the use of a probe dye.
The new technique could have applications in materials science, like better, more sensitive LEDs of the kind used in the solar energy sector.
So we would like to investigate the quality of a light-emitting diode or a photovoltaic device. Can we utilize this microscope to investigate the properties of the molecules in these displays?
Harnessing entangled photons to image fragile samples, generating sharp images of the very small with the gentlest of touches. For Science Nation, I'm Miles O'Brien.
Welcome to TV9 News. I'm your host Ashish Parekh. So what exactly is quantum teleportation? Well, teleportation, of course, like we all know, is a stuff of science fiction. We may not be able to teleport objects or people from place to place in an instant, but you might be surprised to know that there are scenarios where teleportation can actually be achieved, and not is it only possible, it is being done in labs across the world. The quantum entanglement is a phenomenon whereby 2 particles are linked in such a way that information shared with one is also shared with the other at exactly the same time. But keeping particles entangled for a long period of time over long distances is way beyond what current technology is capable of. However, this experiment has been performed multiple times with small particles, and scientists have managed successfully to teleport various electrons, photons, and even molecules dozens of miles. So in case there is a technological development advancement that happens, then there could be a possibility of teleporting larger objects from one place to another. Who knows? One day you might be teleported from here to Mars if the technology is made available.
A new benchmark in communication has just been set, bringing quantum internet one step closer to reality. Quantum internet, where data stored in qubits is shared by a process known as entanglement, would be incredibly fast and ultra-secure, transforming computing as we know it. Now, researchers at Fermi National Accelerator Laboratory in Chicago, along with partners, have teleported qubits over a distance of 27 miles with more than 90% accuracy. Qubits, made of photons, are particles that remain in flux until finally measured, like thrown dice that have yet to settle. Because of their unstable nature, beaming entangled photons over long distances without signal interference is an immense challenge. Fermilab scientists managed to send the qubits via fiber optic cables similar to those forming the backbone of the existing internet. Off-the-shelf equipment was also used, demonstrating that the technology could be scaled up easily with existing hardware.
Guys, you'll know the drill. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and not only to this channel, but also to HPZN Vlog and HPZN Music. I hope you guys enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye, guys.